This mutation is called Call It a Comeback, and it is being played on Temple of the Past. We have 3 mutators active. We have Imminent Domain, we have Just Die, and we have Avenger. So I want to talk about the mutator combinations and some of the mutator interactions that are going to be happening throughout the course of this mission while the players do get set up. The Avenger and the Just Die combination. So the Just Die, a lot of people think that the units die first and then they respawn. It is actually just a reset of the unit's HP when its HP gets to basically 0. So the unit doesn't actually die, and therefore the units do not give out double Avenger stacks. They will only be giving out the Avenger stacks once they actually are killed off after the Just Die stack has been removed from the unit itself. The Imminent Domain mutator, for the most part, is not really a very difficult mutator to deal with, as long as you're not doing some kind of static defense build. So there are some interesting interactions that can happen with Mengsk's Earth players when you are playing with the Imminent Domain mutator, but if you're not really using any static defense, then the chances that you end up losing structures gets a little bit lower. Now you will notice that we have a resident weekly mutation memer over here, so this is going to be a very different kind of game. But the one thing I want to draw your attention to is how Imminent Domain works when Amon captures a production structure. So if he captures a gateway, he will start producing units out of that gateway. And likewise for Mengsk, if he were to capture a barracks, for example, he would be producing units out of those barracks. And I'd like you to keep that in mind throughout the course of this game, because this is going to be an integral part to the strategy that is going to be utilized by these two players. We can see here that Mengsk has already taken his expansion with his extra bunker. Now he's just clearing up his gas rocks. For Vorazun, Vorazun has already used a Shadow Guard, and they will be preparing for the first attack wave that should be spawning in around 2 or 3 seconds. So that is the Shadow Guard now that has been completely used to clear up these rocks. And there we go, there is the attack wave that will be coming up now, and we will see what the enemy composition is once they start to interact. So we can see we have a Protoss composition here, and we will see what the Shadow Guard is going to be doing to address that. Now, one of the things I'll try to show you what happens when units actually end up dying off to this. You can see here the Adepts do pick off, and none of these Adepts are any larger right now because the Just Die stacks does not actually kill off an Adept. You can see now only this Adept now has ended up picking off these Avenger stacks. So you do have single Avenger stacks that are going to be given out by these units. It's still an Avenger mutator, which means that the units do get tankier as you start getting larger and larger attack waves, but it's not really that bad when you have the Just Die stacks. Now, the one thing to also note is that we have an air composition here for Protoss. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult if you are playing commanders that rely on spawn camping, such as Abathur or Raynor when you're using Spire Mines. So these two commanders don't really have any kind of good spawn camping utility, but we can see now that we have the 2 Imperial Intercessors as well. That will be providing Mengsk with a mandate generation, and you can keep an eye out on this number. You can see this number as it starts to rise. It's going to be... Mandate is so important for Mengsk because that allows him to utilize his abilities, and you can see a lot of the mandate now is going into just putting down some static defense here. So there are a bunch of Phoenixes. This Phoenix is going to start lifting it up. This other one tries to make a beeline for that one trooper, but now we have a time stop, and that is going to end up disabling all these Phoenixes and also get this Observer revealed out of the cloak here. And I think this attack wave has been dealt with, and this is, we have a first time stop in the mission, so it's going to be another few minutes before the next time stop is available, but this should allow Mengsk to power up in the early stage of the game and just allow him to build up some kind of army so that he can actually defend during this early stage. Mengsk's early game is not really that strong. After the bunker, after the starting mandate nerf from Blizzard, like Mengsk's early game is significantly weaker, and he's already one of these commanders that really needs to have some kind of early game, so it has affected Mengsk negatively in that sense. If Mengsk is allowed to ramp up, then he usually is one of the stronger commanders of the game. You can see here we have a floating factory already ready, and you will be wondering why the factory is floating, and you will see in just a little bit. But now we have the next part of the meme build, as we have Dark Archons coming up here for Vorazun. And one of the important things is when you are dealing with an air composition is Mengsk's rocket troopers. Those things are absolutely insane. They deal so much damage to air units. They are such a great unit for the anti-air option. In fact, it's one of those things that Mengsk actually has better anti-air than he has anti-ground. His anti-ground options are not really that great. But the second you have the second you're dealing with an air composition, Mengsk's anti-air is absolutely insane. See these Dark Archons, trying to keep them alive. You do not really want to end up losing any of those Dark Archons. And so far, so good. Like, we do have 12 troopers that have been killed off by the attack waves and the random skirmishes that have happened throughout the course of the mission. As long as these Dark Archons are alive, that's going to be very, very important, because these units are really expensive. And you just see how these units just start to get larger and larger as units around them die. And that is one of the things that makes Avenger really deadly, because units gain a lot of unique buffs. So they get like attack speed, they get movement speed, they get a little HP, they get armor, I think. So it does make it very, very difficult. But you can see now Mengsk is he's able to hold reasonably well. And now the first Void Thrasher has spawned, and that should end up getting cleaned up completely by Mengsk. Let's try and make sure he dodges some of this. He does end up getting clipped by a little bit of this, but now I think these commanders want to try and push in a little bit as well. And yes, the Void Thrasher also respawns with Just Die. So because the Void Thrasher is considered an Amon unit, it does end up getting the Just Die buff as well, which does increase the complexity of this a little bit. And now we have the factory is flowing randomly towards this location. You might be wondering, why would this be happening? Why would Mengsk be flowing a factory like this? But this is part of the meme build that these commanders have in store for us during this week's weekly mutation. So we have a few Dark Archons here. These Phoenixes are going to end up aggroing some of this, and they will end up attacking the temple. Temple damage is going to be a little bit lower, but now we have Vorazun stealing these Phoenixes right here, right now. And now we have another bunch of Phoenixes coming up from this side. But again, we have Mengsk's army already ready, and they are... And you know, we also have Mengsk's nuke as well, which is a really good ability. He's probably going to wait until he has the hybrid wave coming up to this ramp before he wants to use that nuke ability, because that nuke actually deals an insane amount of damage. And now we can see there are a bunch of adepts attacking from slightly longer range, but now Mengsk has decided to float his factory and land it right here for Amon to capture. And remember what I said earlier about Imminent Domain is that units will be produced out of production structures that have been captured by Amon. So this factory eventually is going to get captured by Amon and will start producing some units here. So this factory now has been captured, and now Amon is going to be able to utilize this factory to start producing units. I'll try and show you a little bit. There is another hybrid wave here. Unfortunately, you cannot capture hybrids, but we have a time stop that also gets dropped, and that time stop will be able to provide a little bit of damage buffs to some of these commanders that will be able to at least load a little bit of damage onto the attack wave before the time stop runs out, combined with the help of the cannons as well. These fallen cannons are dealing a little bit of damage as well, reasonably good. But you can see the hybrids also end up respawning because of Just Die, but Mengsk has taken the advantage of that time stop to end up pushing down this lane completely, and I don't know if this will end up clearing out everything here, but it should do a reasonable amount of damage to the attack wave that has spawned. And now we can see the Vorazun has been able to hold reasonably well, but we now have another attack wave that is coming up. And this attack wave might be a little bit tricky, but we have enough photon cannons. We have a lot of photon cannons coming out, but remember the Vorazun is basically going to be gas limited. Even though Vorazun is flowing a lot of gas right now, Vorazun is going to be gas limited, and that is going to be a bit of a problem. And we can see here that we have a shock division that has been produced, and this shock division actually belongs to Vorazun here. That is Vorazun's shock division, apparently. But yes, that is what's going to be happening right now. That factory, I'm going to try and see if I can get Amon's vision a little bit. I cannot click any of these random units here, but I'm going to try and show you Amon's vision. But you can see, unfortunately, it doesn't actually show you what is being produced here. But you can see the Amon's structure is actually producing random siege tanks right now. And Amon has actually put down a chrono boost on this thing, which is also really, really funny. He's taken the chrono boost out of one of his nexuses. I don't know which one he's put it down. Yeah, he's taken it off this one, and he's actually started to produce stuff out of this thing. And like you can see, we're producing a Hell's Angel right now. He's producing a Devil Dog. He's producing a Spartan Company. So you can see all these units are actually very, very unique units that you would not normally see in co-op. He's producing a Jackson's Revenge as well. He's producing an Outback Hunter. These units are all unique. You will not normally see them in the regular game. But you can see right now, there's a lot of chaos here for these two commanders. I'm just going to go back to the observer so you can see the player's point of view. We can see that there is a Jackson's Revenge here that is just causing a lot of carnage here, and you might be wondering, why would they want to do this? Why would they create all of these units and just give them to Amon? It's because that is part of the meme build that we have in store. And you can see that there are a lot of Dark Archons. There are lots of powerful units being produced here by... Here's the Duskwings. There are a lot of powerful units being produced by Amon, and that is exactly what the plan is. Vorazun is going to start stealing those units. Use Amon. He's going to get... Vorazun is basically going to build a very powerful army and make Amon pay for it, and that is what is going to be happening. You do have a little bit of a harass here by some of these mules. You can see lots of siege breakers here, and it's just Amon just chrono boosting everything out of this structure, and this chrono boost is actually pretty strong. So it's a 5-second cooldown time to build these units, which is absolutely ridiculous. But we now have another high attack wave that is coming up from the high ground, and I think we have a time stop as well to just provide Mengsk with a little bit of time to clear down some of these. There's a focus fire down onto that Tuna-Fish Hybrid. Tuna-Fish Hybrid ends up going down, and finally we have a bunch of Phoenixes and some War Prisms. But now Mengsk is completely in position. He also has his Pride of August grad, so that Pride is going to start ranking up, and once it gets its triple Yamato cannon, that is when the value starts to rise for it. And notice how Mengsk is not really, he doesn't really have a lot of Royal Guards. He has a few of them just to soak up the experience, but he wants to make sure that he's stacking up this experience onto this Pride of August card, and it requires a reasonably good amount of experience to do so. You can see that there's a constant onslaught here for Vorazun. There's just Death Heads and Siege Breakers and all sorts of other random units. Skippy's Angel. I have never seen that unit before. So these units you will probably never ever see, probably ever again in co-op, because doing this build, obviously you can see the temple's already at 2500 HP. It is a very difficult thing to pull off because you're kind of asking for trouble giving Amon access to all these extra units. But it does mean that eventually you will end up getting some very nice units here. We have a Jackson's Revenge that ends up getting focused down here by the cannons. I do not know if Vorazun wants to try and steal it just yet. I think Vorazun was not really paying attention. They're just trying to hold at the moment. Here's a Spartan company as well that ends up going down. And now we have the next Void Thrasher that has spawned. And this Void Thrasher is going to be causing a few problems for these commanders. We now have a bunch of Dark Archons. And there we go. Vorazun has stolen 2 of the Jackson's Revenges from Amon. Vorazun is going to build the most powerful army of battlecruisers, and Amon is going to be paying for it. So Mengsk is able to engage this attack, this Void Thrasher. So that Void Thrasher ends up getting killed off as well by Vorazun, and we are only at the 18-minute mark, and all the shenaniganry is still going on. So I don't know if Vorazun actually wants to end up stealing some more of these units. These units are, I guess they're okay. They're not really that great. Spartan companies and whatnot. The Jackson's Revenge are probably the most expensive units that you can get here. And you can see here, here's some Hell's Angel. We just have a bunch of Dark Archons. They're just waiting. They're like, come on, send me a battlecruiser. Give me a battlecruiser right now so I can utilize. There we go. Stole another battlecruiser. Life is good for Vorazun. Vorazun is just chilling right now, and now we have a hybrid spawn here, and that might be a bit of a problem, but we have a Mengsk nuke here. Just look at the amount of damage output from this Mengsk nuke. There's one hybrid that is just going on a complete ravaging fest here onto Mengsk's army, but yeah, it's just completely held down. Unfortunately, there is an attack wave here that is really large that Vorazun, I don't think will be able to handle. There are a lot of Phoenixes, lots of hybrids here, and these hybrids are going to end up growing a lot and very quickly once the Avenger stacks from these Phoenixes start getting distributed out. But now we have a very nice, very conveniently timed time stop here. And now we have the utility of the Jackson's Revenge here. We have a Pride of August grad that is coming up as well. Uses the Yamato cannon just to try and weaken and clear out these enemy units. And we have Mengsk now also in position. Just look at the size of that hybrid behemoth. 4,000 HP right now, with just a ridiculous stats. You can actually go back and pause the video to see some of the stats. I did hover over it just a little bit, but now we have another attack wave that is coming up from the northern ramp, and we have a lot of Phoenixes in this attack wave as well, which is going to be a little bit difficult for Vorazun to deal with, but Mengsk is already in position with the Pride of August grant, and we also have there's a Viking that's in here as well, a Hell's Angel that has been stolen by Vorazun, and Vorazun is just sitting over here, just stealing everything. Unfortunately, there's a black hole. I think there might have been a unit over there. Yeah, there we go. There is a Jackson's Revenge as well stolen. There's another one there. I think Vorazun wants to yoink that as well. Yep, there we go. Stolen by Vorazun. And now we have a bunch of Void Rays on the front side. And unfortunately, there is no defenses here for Mengsk. So he does drop a Zerg call down to try and draw some aggro of these Void Rays while his army gets into position. It's going to be a little bit of a slugfest right now, but he will end up cleaning that up. And this is exactly what I was talking about. His army deals so much damage to anti-air targets, and now we have 4 of these Jackson's Revenge. There's a 5th one there. Does he want to try and take control of that? I think that actually does a good amount of damage. I don't know if he wants to try. Yeah, there we go. He grabbed that as well. We now have another attack wave that has few more Phoenixes here, dealing a little bit of damage to the Temple. Temple is already at 2000 HP, but it is well worth the memes over here. This is going to be so much fun to watch. There's a Devil Dog, there's a Hammer Securities, Outback Hunter, just all sorts of random stuff that's just spawning from Vorazun's side. It's just causing so many issues. But we have now the Jackson's Revenge for Vorazun. Unfortunately, Vorazun has ended up losing a good chunk of the photon cannons that she ended up putting down here as a result of some of the onslaught of the attack waves. But we are at the 24-minute mark, and now Mengsk is going to start pushing in with his army as well to try and get into position for dealing with this Thrasher that has come up. And there is a Void Thrasher as well over here that needs to be addressed, but there is also going to be an attack wave that will be accompanying this, so Mengsk will have to be a little bit careful with how he chooses to engage this. All of these Oracles going full Disco Inferno. I see just the value of the Pride of August Grant instantly one-shotting a large number of these units, and there is a large attack wave that is coming up over here. Lots of Tempests, and these Tempests are going to end up picking off a lot of these photon cannons. But now the Archons are in position, and they're like, you know what, this is a very nice looking Tempest you have here. It would be a shame if something would happen to it, like me stealing it. And over here now we have another attack wave that has gone into position. There are a few Earthslayers here, and this is an interesting interaction with Imminent Domain as well. Time stop comes down, but when an Earthslayer gets captured by Amon, Amon can't actually use it. Look at how big that Void Thrasher is. It is such a massive Void Thrasher. Yeah, so these Earthslayers, they don't attack once they have been captured by Amon, so they become kind of like dummy units that Amon doesn't actually utilize. Amon's AI doesn't they will not target an Earthslayer, and the Earthslayer will actually stop attacking completely. So if you lose an Earthslayer, you basically just lose the resources and just ends up blocking you. It doesn't really do very much with anything else throughout the course of the game. It just sits there until it just gets destroyed by you. And you can see now that lots of hybrids are coming up this southern ramp, and this is again going to be a bit of a problem for Vorazun, because Vorazun can't actually handle it, but she has, look at the army of the Tempests and these Jackson's Revenge here. They're just dealing a good amount of damage. They'll be able to hold without too many issues. Over here, look at the size of the hybrid behemoth as well. Lots of these Marauders are just getting picked up because its attack speed is just absolutely ridiculous by these hybrids. 1,300 HP left on the Temple. I don't think that the last Void Thrasher is going to get handled by these commanders, but these commanders are just trying to hold. They're just trying to keep Amon's army off that Temple. If these hybrids actually get to the Temple, they will be dealing a lot of damage very quickly, and it is going to be GG. We have now a triple-pronged attack wave that is coming up here, and there does not seem to be anything. Okay, there is Mengsk's army here, and I think he might try and deal with some of these Void Rays first. He's trying to focus down these Void Rays to try and clear them up. Very nice black hole coming out. Vorazun's base is getting completely ravaged now by these hybrid behemoths, and unfortunately, no time stop available for these commanders to use, with the Temple sitting at 1,100 HP. This Temple is getting a little bit dangerously low. If any of these attack waves start getting to the Temple, they will start dealing a lot of damage, and especially with the Avenger stacks, that could be absolutely devastating. But that is the Temple defended, and that is GG.